From 12 News, this is Newsmakers.
Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Ted Nesi. Tim White is on assignment this week. Rhode Island Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos is still trying to put 2023 behind her. That was when Matos's bid for the congressional seat formerly held by David Ciccone collapsed after workers hired by her campaign were discovered to have forged signatures to get on the ballot. 2 were later charged. This week, in her first extended television interview looking back at the scandal and ahead to what's next, Matos sat down with 12 News anchor Kim Kalunian. Here's some of their conversation.
Let's start. Obviously, we got the sad news this morning that Senate President Ruggerio passed away. He'd been battling an illness for a long time, and you mentioned that you even worked with him in your role on the City Council in Providence. So, what's your reaction to today's news?
It's very sad to learn the news of the passing of Senate President Ruggerio. My experience working with him since I was in the Providence City Council has been always positive. He was always kind and always respectful. In my role in the Providence City Council, we had some differences, but we always found a way how to work in collaboration and come to a mutual understanding. But I can tell you, never was he disrespectful in any of our exchange. He was extremely kind and respectful, and I'm very grateful to him because if you remember also, in order for me to become Lieutenant Governor, it requires the nomination from the governor, but also requires the vote of the Senate. And the Senator Ruggerio was also very supportive and very helpful for me in that process.
Obviously, you were the former City Council President in Providence, so I want to ask you some Providence-centric questions. I'll lob a couple at you and you can answer them how you see fit, but control of schools, there seems to be a disagreement between the governor and the commissioner and the mayor about who should have control of schools, so I'm curious your take on that. And also, the mayor has expressed some concern about vacant or underutilized commercial space in the city and potentially trying to make that into more housing. What do you think about the mayor's perspective on the schools? And
so if you remember when the state took over the schools at that time, I was president of the Providence City Council. We were all in agreement. We were looking at a possibility in which the state could do things differently. I can tell you one of my biggest concerns was the management and government structures of the Providence School Department, and was one of the things that I was hoping can get addressed and changed by the state taking over this Providence school. I believe that the school district should go back to Providence eventually. I don't believe this right now is the best timing. And here are the concerns that I have. One is 2019 is when the takeover happens. 2020 we're dealing with COVID. That changed a lot of the plans that we had for the Providence Public School. But now the Providence has made a change in how the school board members are elected. And I believe they still need time to figure out the internal management structure and how they're going to govern before they can get the school back.
So do you think next year is the best solution, or do you think we just need to wait and see how it all plays out?
I think right last time it got extended for 3 years. I think we should conclude those 3 years and then take an evaluation.
3 years from now and then see?
From when it was approved.
When it was approved, okay.
Yes.
And then in terms of, his concerns about properties being vacant or underutilized and how that's going to impact the tax rolls, what do you think about the idea to make more residential property in the city?
We need housing, so I'm always appreciative of municipalities that have been proactive and mayors that have been proactive on building more housing. Mayor Smiley, Mayor Da Silva in his Providence, both have been very proactive. I agree. Right now in downtown, we have not seen the workforce come back. There's more hybrid workforce model. So not everyone that used to come to downtown is back in downtown. So we have to look at alternative into maybe converting some of those buildings into apartment and create more housing. Yes, I agree.
So I know we've talked about the issues with the signatures for your congressional campaign before, but it does seem like, you know, that happened and then you got quiet. I feel like you sort of took a step back. Is that a fair assessment, that made you sort of take a step back and maybe reassess a little bit from, you know, how often you were out in the public light and all of that?
So I think that I can be completely honest with you. I needed to step back. I needed to step back to reassess myself, my family, and how I was impacted by the issues of the signatures. The whole process was very traumatic. And there were moments in which I thought maybe I was going to quit everything and quit the race for Congress, then after quit being lieutenant governor. And but I took time to reassess, and I always find God sent me signs and reminders about why He had brought me this far, and why I'm in this position, and why I have to keep moving forward. So yes, I'll have to say I stepped back a little. I needed to step back for my family, for myself, for my own mental health. And once I was ready, I went back out there. What I can tell you, when I go out there, everyday Rhode Islanders, when they talk to me about the signatures, if they talk to me about the signatures, basically they talk about how unfair the whole process was. It's challenging because individuals that don't know me could hear what was being presented in the news and don't know the history and the trajectory of the work that I've been doing. But those who know me well, that have worked with me since I was in the city council, they told me, like, we know that that's not you. I couldn't believe you were going through this. So I needed to step back in order to get myself, my family, and my mental health in the right place.
So you thought about resigning?
Yeah.
Was that an external pressure? Like you felt like there was an expectation that you should resign? Or was that something that you thought, maybe I need to do this for myself and my family?
I thought I needed to do it for my family and for myself. No, it got to a moment in which it was very overwhelming. And it is tough to explain to my, at that time, 83 years old father, everything that was going on, and also to make sure that he knew that I have not done anything to shame him or his name. That has always been very important to me. And it was a rough time, I have to say, rough time. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry you went through that. Did it put any sort of rift in your relationship with the governor?
No. The governor never came to me or accused me of anything. I believe the people who knows me knows my character and understand that I would never do anything like that. Yeah.
What do you see yourself doing if you do win re-election in 2026? Yeah. Are there aspirations for higher office, or maybe taking another look at federal office? What do you see yourself doing?
So right now, my emphasis is in re-election for next year. When it comes to political offices, I'm committed to running for lieutenant governor. I'm not looking at any other offices, and this is something that is hard for people to understand. I never got into politics with a plan that I'm going to go here, there. I think it has been a combination of me doing the job that I've been elected to do at the time, showing up and working hard, and opportunities has been presented, but it was never that I had a plan to. I never had a master plan that I was going to end up as lieutenant governor or go here and there. Opportunities were presented in because I've been doing the job that I was elected to do.
Coming up, more from Kim Kalunian's one-on-one interview with Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos. Stick with us here on Newsmakers. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Ted Nisi. Now more from 12 News anchor Kim Kalunian's one-on-one interview with Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos.
I've heard you speak about this before, about how so many local small businesses are owned by people who are frankly approaching retirement age, and might not have someone who's going to naturally take it over. And you've spoken about how employee-owned businesses seem to be a good solution to that.
That's right.
But I'm wondering, how does the government step in and tell a private company, like, this is what you should do? So how do you plan to try and guide them down that path?
So it's not necessarily telling them what to do. What I learned through the National Lieutenant Governors Association presentation they did to us is that this country, not just the state of Rhode Island, is going to be dealing with what is called the silver tsunami, which means that baby boomers are going to be retiring in big numbers. This is going to bring a lot of challenges. It's going to be a huge transfer of wealth that's going to happen in this country from one generation to next. But what happens in many cases is that the children don't want to follow the businesses that the parents were running, right? And it presents a challenge because the businesses that don't have a succession plan in place or don't have a family member that's going to take it over, they come to the time in which the owners are going to retire and they don't know what to do. They end up either shutting down their doors or selling their company to an entity outside of the state. So what we're trying to do is to provide all the information, provide the education, provide the access to capital, the access to technical assistance for those businesses to start putting together their succession plan, and also for those employees that would like to take over the businesses to have access to the resources and the knowledge and the support that they need in order to be able to run the business.
We've talked about your hopes to decrease the price of groceries.
Yes.
And you've got a couple of bills before the General Assembly that are aimed at doing that. Talk me through those bills and if you think that there is an appetite for them this year.
Yes, so it's the first price grocery agenda, and has several bills. This year is 4 bills that we have introduced. And the bills do different things. One of the bills is looking at what is called restricted covenant, right? How we stop any more restricted covenants from happening here in the state of Rhode Island. Restricted covenants happens when an institution, one of the big grocery store, right, is selling one of their buildings. It's maybe because they closed down on that location. But when they sell that building, they're selling it with a restriction in their deed that says that another grocery store cannot go there. Because what that does is that force the consumers in that area to have to go to their nearest location, right? It had happened also in which they just buy a building that is within the vicinity of their stores. And then when they buy these buildings and they resell it, that they put the covenant just to avoid another grocery store from coming. So they're trying to create a monopoly and avoid competition.
So I want to talk to you about some sort of bigger picture, statewide, national policy issues and get your stance on them. We were talking about immigration before and how you came here not speaking English, and you think it's really the only country where you can achieve what you've achieved.
That's right.
Do you look around at what's happening in terms of, ICE detainments and enforcement of immigration law and think that's changed what you've, do you think that you could still achieve what you did if you moved here today?
I believe that we still can achieve that, but my concern is that we may lose that. When I see things happening in this country that are putting in risk our civil liberties, our freedom of expression, right? It gives me a lot of concern and gives me a lot of pause. I believe that those of us that comes from another country, and especially that come from countries that had dictatorship or authoritarian government, we get very concerned when we see what is happening, because it feels like little by little, if we don't do something, we may end up there. It's scary when I hear news here in the U.S. about someone getting detained and sent to a prison that is far away from where they live, or just that their families cannot have access to them. This just brings back memories of the stories that I heard growing up in Dominican Republic about when we had a dictator and how anyone that had an opinion different from the government could have been detained and could have been sent to a prison far away from their families, making it harder for them to have access to their network, their family, and their support. So it gives me pause, it gives me concern that if we as Americans don't realize what we have, and every time I'm talking to, especially new immigrants, right? In first, second generations, I mentioned to them that our job as new Americans is to remind Americans that have been here for longer generations what we have, what we have, and what we could lose if we don't, if we continue to take it for granted and we don't protect it. We could lose our democracy if we are not paying attention.
That was 12 News anchor Kim Kalunian reporting. Coming up after the break, Rhode Island's Senate has new leadership. We'll hear from the new Senate President and the new Senate Majority Leader. Stay with us on Newsmakers. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Ted Nisi. On Monday, mourners gathered for the funeral of Rhode Island's late Senate President Dominick Ruggerio, who died last month at age 76. Scores of lawmakers and other elected officials joined union leaders and family members to pay tribute to the North Providence Democrat. In the days leading up to the funeral, other leading Rhode Island politicians shared their memories of the Ruggerio.
You actually went to high school with him.
I did go to high school with him at LaSalle. I played football with him, and he was a remarkable gentleman even then. His kindness and his willingness to reach out to the young kids on the team and buck them up, and that's not common.
And he taught me a lot. I remember one of his famous saying was, "Speaker, never say it's no, just say it's not now." So when he would want something, I would say to him, "Donnie, it's not no, it's just not now." And he would laugh. He said, "Boy, I taught you too well."
I got to know Dominick very personally as a great leader, a kind person, and someone who has worked, worked a lifetime for the working families in the state of Rhode Island.
A day after the funeral, senators turned their attention to choosing Ruggerio's successor. After a week of behind-the-scenes politicking, Senate Majority Leader Val Lawson secured enough votes to defeat her predecessor, former Majority Leader Ryan Pearson. The final vote for Senate President was 24 for Lawson, 8 for Pearson, and 4 for GOP leader Jessica de la Cruz. Lawson won the job by teaming up with Labor Committee Chairman Frank Ciccone, whom Senate Democrats elected as the new Majority Leader, despite opposition from some progressive groups. Lawson and Ciccone both addressed the Democratic caucus after the votes. Here's what they said.
I want to thank everyone in this room for their vote today. Or I want to say to all of you, I'm here to work on all of our behalf to get what needs to be done collectively for Rhode Island. I want to thank Senator Sosnowski for her years of service here and doing me the honor of nominating me, and Senator Murray. I'm deeply humbled and honored today, and I commit to you all that I do want to work collaboratively with everyone here today. In addition to that, I am committed to being open in regards to everything in access, in having conversations, and working on all of the issues that are important to us. I will save brief remarks for the floor, but for now, let me just say it's an honor to be here today. It's an honor to have the support and walk out of the Democratic caucus with all of your support. Thank you very much.
Let me begin by thanking two people who stuck by me through all of this, and that's Senator Felag, who I've known for quite a few years, and a new senator, Senator Laurie Urso. I'm humbled by your words supporting me and grateful for your friendship. I want to be brief because all through this, it's, give me a minute. I've had great trouble going through this process during this period of time. Dominick and I have worked together since over 40 years, and the expedience of this has really created a problem for me personally. I talked to his son Charles. I felt bad for him. I talked to his sister Lisa, and I said, I hope we don't have to go through it. I don't have to go. I hope we can put this off, but it appeared that we didn't. With that, thank you for placing your trust in me. We all come from different backgrounds, different constituencies, and we all have different priorities. I have tremendous admiration for all of you in this room, and I respect everyone. Based on all your differences, I know where you come from, and I've committed to some of you to talk to me on what my plan would be for inclusion for the next 6 weeks, if we're here for 6 weeks, and what we can look forward in the future. We are all dedicated public servants who stand up for what we believe. I'm looking forward to work with you collaboratively and listening to some of your thoughts. I had a longer speech, but obviously, based on what transpired with our president, I'm going to do this and close in memory of my friend, my brother, Dominick Ruggerio. Thank you.
And that's all for this week's edition of Newsmakers. Tim White will be back next Friday. As always, thank you for watching. We'll see you then.